printed everything. Hang on a second. Oh, that's right. I have the phone flipped the other way so it looks like I'm looking off screen. So if I want to look like I'm looking straight, I have to look next to the phone, which I don't like doing. Is it right there? Aha. Okay, so now I know what I'm looking at. It's kind of unnerving, though. I don't know, I might... Let me flip that. Okay. No, that's what I'm talking about. Well, it's Friday. It is Friday. There's no darn thing anybody can do about it. No changing it. No making it better, no making it worse. Let us see now. I printed out everything instead of just the questions. Here are my instructions about how the specs to make a correct reproduction replica of David Gilmour's Black Strat. I keep thinking about that project. But what's silly though is like everybody talks about David Gilmour's Black Strat. I think it just sold. It was the highest priced guitar in the world. Well, like when they recorded like The Wall, not The Wall, like Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, all that stuff. He played that guitar, but it had its original neck, which had a rosewood fingerboard, and that's the one that he, recorded for all these, huge Pink Floyd hits from that time. And he said, well, that he swapped out the neck, and I'm like, Ship of Theseus aside, I kind of think of the neck as being the guitar, so I'm like, where's the original neck? That's what I'd like to find. Somebody find me the original neck to David Gilmour's beautiful Black Strat. But I am thinking about making my own. I am. Hang on. Okay. Okay, well, it's Friday. Let's, oh, wait. You know what time it is. Okay, wrist check. I took a lot of advice to heart, and I'm still wearing this. You know why? I really enjoy it. I like it. I like I said, I feel like a bit of a class traitor. My people aren't kings and queens. But I did work for this, and I did save it. Save for it. And I do want to keep it forever. My thing with this is that it's like not a modern one. It's not like I went down to an authorized dealer and just bought whatever they had regardless of the price. I looked for this specific subvariant. I looked, like specific, like subvariant of a subvariant, and with some other stuff, like it had to have all the extras and everything else, the original tritium loom, the Z Submariner dial. And it's not like, and the part of the reason for that, well, one, the watch is from 1987, which is kind of a precious year to me. And also because it's, despite being one of the Rolexes with the shortest production time, I mean, they were a really weird variant that only happened for a brief, I don't know, for a brief window of time when Rolex had gone from 316 to 904 for the steel on the case and the case back, but they still hadn't yet moved to the new movement, the 3135. So this is the 3035. Main difference being the like how the balance is attached to the stud and some other stuff. It's a perfectly fine movement. The biggest issue with these of this time period is that dials there were some production QC issues. Sometimes they'll do what's called spidering and they'll do all this cracking, which I actually think is rather attractive. This has the other thing, which is where moisture gets in and you get a little bit of this bubbling on here. And if it gets really bad, it'll just go there and the whole surface will just be this weird sort of, I don't know. It would just, I don't know. It just, people try to sort of rebrand that as sponge, which by the way is a word I do not like. I don't know what else you'd call it. It just, It is what it is. It's patina. But I like it. It's comfortable. And so that's what I'm wearing. I don't know, I just like it. I mean, it might be pretentious or whatever, but it's just, you know, my great uncle Dick, he wore his Explorer for, he wore it and destroyed it and wore it and killed it, and then he killed it again, and then it just sat rotting in his drawer, but he wore it for a long time. But as I said, it's nice because when I look at this, it's just nothing I work on professionally, and it's just like, I don't feel like I have to worry about it. Like, I don't have to worry about this watch. That's what I dig. James Duffy, Mr. James Duffy of the Sandwich Time channel. I'm always happy to see another mail call video, even if it might be a rare one-off. Thank you for your time to make these videos. It's a ridiculous amount of time, but it's also not as big as I make it out to be. You know, it's like anything else. You know, you build something up in your mind like, oh, I've got to do this thing. It's not that bad once I just get into it. It's, you know, it all depends. Okay, LSR strategies. How come you don't polish and refinish case and case back? This is a comment on an old video about a 6309 dive watch, 6309 7040. How come you don't polish or refinish the case and case back? Because I suck at it. I don't have the tools to do it. I don't have the skills to use the tools that I don't own. And all I would be doing basically is guaranteeing that I'd be jacking up someone's case. That said, Sabrina was like, why don't you refinish cases? And I was like, well, I don't have the right tools, and I can't learn to do it if I don't have the right tools. And she's like, you should really do that. And I'm like, lapping machines are really expensive. And she's like, well, that's something maybe you should think about. So I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. After all, it was her idea. This whole business was her idea, so she might be onto something. Oh, okay. The next three-ish questions have to do with something pretty obscure. For some viewers who are not sort of down with the weird nitty-gritty of Seikos. Okay, back in the, so like starting in 69, that's when like the glorious, true center golden part of the golden age started. 69, and that is when Seiko at that point was putting water resistance numbers on the dials and case backs, waterproof, proof in the front, proof in the back. Well, truth in advertising laws from that time started to be enforced, and more were coming, meaning basically you couldn't lie in your ads. And so waterproof is an absolute statement. So they had to go to resist, which they did, usually basically starting around 1970, and then once we hit into 71, it's all resist, and then in 72 all that verbiage went away. There was no water anything. It didn't say a darn thing. So there's Seiko's like earliest modern diver of that period was the Slim Case 6105 8000, and it's always been with, you know, all the knowledge that we have regarding Seiko is that those things, they would never be mixed because it was a legal thing. We were thinking proof case back. If there's resist marking on the dial, it should match what's on the case back. It'll be resist on the front and resist in the case back, or resistant. You do get both of those, but it's the same word with just a suffix added. And so when they went to from proof to resist, or resistant, and then nothing. And so it was always assumed that you would never get a watch that said resist on the dial and it had resist on the dial and a proof case back, or the other way around, resist proof. There's no evidence for it at the time. There was certainly nothing advertising that would have touched that, and it was simply assumed that that was not possible and that they were a case back and dial mismatch. I'm not weighing in on the validity or lack thereof regarding this, but Daniel Blair of the Blair Watch Project and several other of you clever fellows have been sniffing on this idea that there actually was a brief period of time that where at the end of the 6105 8000 slim case run, which was in 1970, that there was that overlap. Versus proof. Blair Watch Project. Hey Spencer, I found 8 different 6105 8000s that are resist proof. Cool. Jim Canataro. I had a 6105 8000 resist dial proof case back from 1970, hacking B movement. Mine was just a few hundred numbers from Daniels in the production line, June 1970. Yeah, and that's real late. That's real late for one of those. So it's going to be interesting to see how, if that turns out to be the case, because where we don't have print evidence or like ads or something, you have to rely on, you know, observational evidence and sort of making assumptions and having your theories until they're proven or disproven. The glory of the scientific method at work in the world of horology. But that would mean that a lot of people, myself included, would have looked at late 6105 8000s that would have had that thing and been like, ah, it's a service dial. It's a Frankenstein watch. And watches that might have been entirely original to themselves have since been separated or parted out. And so that's sad. But, you know, I don't know that happened, but it's still sad. Oh, these next four comments are regarding the same topic. 24/7 ADT. Is that the company, like ADT, like the alarm company, 24/7? I never did think about that. 24/7 ADT said, ha ha ha, I did the same thing. I saved for my Rolex and then did not wear it. Yes, Spencer, wear your Rolex because you paid for it with your own money. My wife, who talked me into getting mine, also set me straight about wearing it. And I agree. I agree. And, well, the next comments are about this as well. So, Solbrook, talk about old school. He's older and more school than me, and he has schooled me once, and I'm old. So, he's older, but he's doing the schooling. So, he's old schooling. The only watches too valuable to wear are heirlooms, and that are filled with emotion and love and made to be too delicate to be worn. Anything else that is too valuable to wear should be sold. That one hit me. I was like, you know, right, why do I own the damn thing? Why do I own the damn thing? I claim every day to not be a hoarder. And I'm like, and I was following through on that. I actually spun off I spun off everything except this and Uncle and the Explorer, my great Uncle Dick's Explorer. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I want to be able to wear it. You know, another comment was, you know, keep this watch for the rest of my life. Famous last words. I agree. And at the time when I was saying it, I'm like, famous last words. You know, oh, and speaking of that, couple that comment to Sabrina taking inventory, and it eerily reminds me of what my wife did just before she divorced me. Well, the reason that Sabrina was taking inventory is because she, I asked her to help me, because it's actually been causing me a fair amount of anxiety, that I don't have a mental list of every single watch that we have here. Good watches, parts watches, any of that stuff. So she actually went through and did inventory to help me, and also so we can have a much more accurate balance statement for the business and all that other kind of crap. So she was helping me out. Seiko Scar. Hi, Spencer. Very nice sub you have. What are your thoughts on the 93150 bracelet? It's a classic and highly comfortable, but they suffer from wear and tear as the pins get worn, and the stretch makes the links gnaw into each other, removing metal. I suppose it is a natural consequence of decades of daily use without proper cleaning. Still, bracelets from Seiko and Omegas from the same era do not suffer from the same damage. I find this very strange. Regards, Oscar. I agree. I should have read this first before I did my segment about the other. Well, let's
talking about the bracelet on these 93150. I don't have a problem with them. I mean, they're well made. They're sort of hollow, but there's no break in like the links or anything else. Like they don't have these like division things in the middle like that. They do wear, and they wear badly. Or they can. I've seen them, yes, where it's like you have it, where it's worn and they like chunk up and like they're taking bites out of each other. I don't know why they do that. And you're correct that Seiko bracelets don't really do that, and I'm not quite sure why. I don't know. I don't have a theory. I don't have a theory. Well, I do have a theory, but I don't think it's a very good one. But I like the bracelet. I think it's nice. I wear it on the bracelet always. I've worn it on the strap before, but I never really liked it. I like the way this watch feels. What's nice about this too is it's like, I mean, it's just wearable vintage, and anybody looking at it would not be like, ooh, man, look at that dude's kick-ass thingy. It's just like a watch. It's not like wearing a Kermit or a Hulk or whatever the different stuff is. This huge, blingy, flashy, gigantic things. This is old school, which I like. But also, I mean, my feelings about Rolex are, I came to Rolex not because, people say, I bought a Rolex, I went to the AD, I got the call today. I got into Rolex because of my great uncle. My great uncle Dick. And he, extremely nice old gentleman, super nice. One of a very few truly pious and decent Christians I've ever met. But he had this watch. It was a Christmas present from his wife, my great aunt. It's a Rolex Explorer. It's from 1965. And being Uncle Dick, I mean, they had a pool up there, up at their little farm thingy, and he went into the water all the time. And at a certain point, he took it in, and it just destroyed the movement. And so he sent it off and had it restored and put in a replacement dial, and then it flooded again. How do you flood an Explorer twice? At some point down the road. But he wore the watch for decades, and it was just nice to, you buy something, it's a good quality, it's a nice watch, it's there, and you can hand it down. You can keep it, and it I had to do an unbelievable amount of work to restore this thing. But that's the original movement under there. I did it. And this watch, it's this lovely old thing with history, elegant piece. It'll go down the line. And I'd like for this to happen with this one too. I know I'm tempting fate. Knocking on wood there, but I'd like to keep it. It's nice. Because I wear it and I don't worry about it. I don't have to baby it. I don't have to do anything. It already got bashed and bonked. It's running great. And it does what I need.
And we're back. David Tan. Hey Spencer, a little off topic. For your next mail call, I have a question regarding my Seiko 9726 8000 G1 Transzone Synchronizer. What is the best way of sending my query to you? Love your work, by the way. Well, thank you for that last comment. Best thing to do is to email me at kvw@kleinvintagewatch.com. For business stuff like that. As for your question, I haven't the foggiest idea. I've never heard of this watch. I've certainly never seen one. And though, of course, I don't know what it is. I might see a picture and be like, oh, that thing.
But right now I don't know anything, so I'll research. But I will be knowing just as much as you, because we'll be going to the same places to research, I think. Babak Shakiba. I hope I got that right. Hello, Spencer. I missed these mail call videos. No one told me that you guys liked these things. Here's a question for your next video. What is your take on reissues? A couple of days ago, news broke that there's going to be a reissue of the classic Citizen Bullhead, the Brad Pitt, with a quartz movement. Have you seen it? No. If so, what is your impression of it? Not applicable. Thanks in advance. Reissues. I mean, there's different levels of reissue. There's Omega 300 Seamaster reissue, which was really exquisitely done. And then you have, you know, things like the 6309 reissue, which is a little shiny and baroque and kind of weird. And then you get into some of the modern reissues that are just these clown-colored, horrendous things. I mean, I guess it depends what it's trying to do. When, you know, Ford reissued like the 57 T-Bird in like the year 2000 or whatever it was okay. You could see they'd taken some of the design hints and it looked all right. But then, you know, you have the PT Cruiser, which was just one of the worst cars ever made. And it wasn't even really it was supposed to feel old-timey. What a piece of crap. So, you know, I guess what matters is the intent and whether or not the designing team understands the source material. And even if they're gonna swap it out to make it work correctly, in terms of how it looks and the aesthetics. Like Seiko's reissues, you know, of the 6159 7001. They got the case right. God damn, the case looks beautiful. The dial in the hands, it's like they tweaked the colors just ever so slightly, and everything is like sort of muddy looking and dark and hard to see. And instead of like seeing these beautiful bright gold, you know, indice tops, flat high polish indice tops staring out, you get this kind of mostly flat sort of goldish glimmers in the darkness in the depths, like the ring in the bottom of the river. And I don't know. And so it just, that particular reissue was so disappointing to me, because it could have been great. It could have been great, but they missed it. But what are you gonna do? So it really depends. The Arlie reissues are super nice. The new reissues of the Zodiacs, those things are pretty cool. I mean, some of the things that Omega's putting out, they're really, really good. Modern Rolex has completely lost its way, so don't even talk to me about that. But one thing about Rolex is you kind of don't need to do reissues when you make the same product forever. Okay. I'm going to butcher this. Oh, actually, I know why I'm going to butcher this, because the closest I could get to this is my Danish heritage. So, because people came from Denmark. So, you probably are no longer interested in my answer. You're probably busy deleting your link to this video as we speak. But, Svein Arne Jørgensen. Great video. So nice explained. Question, is it okay to run the second hand all the time, or will it wear and tear the movement chronograph wheel more than necessary? Best from Norway. Actually, this is a question about the 6139, 6138 chronographs, and whether you should keep the chronograph running or stopped. My thing is always, again, you want to either choose one and mostly stick with that. But when you're going the transition, you're stopping and you're resetting, that's where the danger is. And that's where you need to be extremely careful. Leaving it running all the time is fine. It's fine. Honestly, it is still kind of my preferred state. It means that there's less stress on the spring. The spring is not being compressed because you're pushing back the thrust plate. Also, the chronograph wheel turns in jewels, top and bottom. Whereas if you're just running the center section, it's the fourth section wheel gear thing is just hole in a gear spinning on a metal post, which will be far more likely to wear. So honestly, still from my perspective, you know, leaving it running is a little bit easier. I mean, you're going to add a little bit of wear to the minute counter wheels because they're going to be, you know, clicking over, you know, every minute, 60 times an hour and all that stuff. That's a little bit of wear, but as long as you're not doing hard resets, you're fine. Watson's World of Wonders. Oh, this gentleman is talking about a comment I made on a restoration video talking about a really old band called Echo and the Bunnymen. I saw Echo live when they were still doing the pubs around Liverpool and Manchester. Always a good set. I have to show you my like one of only 3 in the world Smiths posters. I saw Echo and the Bunnymen live when they were still doing the pubs around Liverpool and Manchester. Always a good set. But in comparison, much better in comparison to the computer-created mindless pap we got today. The 80s were damn good music, building upon the good years in the 60s and 70s, and the bar slipped in the mid to late 90s. Used to bump into Europeans, Canadians, Americans, Australians who did nothing more than tour the pubs for the live music for the big names back then. Yeah, you know, man, we left England when I was, we left England, maybe we're about 2 or 3 days right after Diana got married to Charles. And so I missed out on, well, I was too young to go up anywhere up there, and plus we were down in the south anyway. So, yeah, I missed all of that. All I can do is watch 24-hour Party People and dream. Last comment is about is regarding the MG. Dale Taylor Jr. Because the MG, which by the way I'm starting to work on, I'm finally starting to make some forward progress. I want to make an MG video. I've got the dash in. I mean, I physically got an original replacement dash here. It's not in. I have to strip everything out of the car. Anyway, the car started out red, and then it became orange several times. In fact, here's a picture. Anyway, Dale Taylor Jr. said, red is always better, LOL. My only real hesitation about red, pardon me, is that it has a far higher incidence of being pulled over by the police. It's like a crazy variation. Red is a really provocative color. I mean, if you ever want to read about, you know, psychological stuff or sociological stuff, there were studies done on women wearing red versus any other color. And, you know, that jackass had that stupid Woman in Red song in the 80s. He wrote that thing for a reason. Sorry. Well, I mean, that's it for questions right now. I don't really have much of anything else. I really am working on the MG. Gonna keep things going. Built a shelf. Well, I didn't build it, I restored it. Over the course of the last month, it's nice. Found more fossils. That's a picture of my scooter. There's my 74 Rally 200. My first Vespa, and it was my last. Sold it to some guy, belonged to the Checker Demons. He was in Connecticut or something. I hope it's still together. I wish I knew where it was, but what are you gonna do? I commuted on that bike for years in San Francisco. I literally put 50,000 miles or more easily on that thing. I think I went through 2 or 3 engines, and when I got it, it was showroom. Oh yeah, I drove that thing into the ground. But when I sold it, it still ran, and it looked like that. Well, it actually had the sloping wheel. No, not anything like that. Oh, and that's our oldest. She started high school today. Today was her first day of high school. there she was. As the only game in town. Firstborn. Okay. Folks, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Put your questions down below, and I'll be happy to check it out and do stuff. Bye.